Big breaking news coming in. Delhi police has recommended a cancellation of the case of POCSO with regards to the wrestlers' protest. The POCSO case that was levied on Brij Bhushan, the WFI chief. It appears that now that's been dropped. No corroborative evidence found. Allegations by the minor that were initially had been withdrawn, and considering that there is no corroborative proof to the allegations that she's leveled, clearly here the POCSO case is dropped, with the police sources saying that there is no evidence. Minor had vested interests, there is no proof, and therefore the POCSO case itself falls flat. Delhi police files a 550-page report on the cancellation of the FIR in the minor wrestlers case, and according to sources, the minor has already withdrawn the allegations of sexual abuse against Brij Bhushan, has reversed her statement. The minor had spoken of sexual abuse in her first statement before the magistrate. In the second statement, the minor retracted allegations of sexual abuse, saying that I was not selected, I worked very hard, I was in depression, and so in anger, I filed a case of sexual harassment. In fact, this is the minor's father, we believe, who informed the police on these lines. In fact, this is, of course, a big development, considering now all the allegations against Brij Bhushan. The most severe one was certainly this case, the POCSO case. Now that it's been dropped, wonder how the police will take forward this investigation, and if at all there could be serious charges at all on Brij Bhushan at this point. Let me cut across to Anisha and Aishwarya Paliwal. Anisha Mathur joining us live, tracking court for us. Anisha, looking at this, the scenario here, the minor victim has withdrawn her POCSO complaint and then filed another complaint, then goes on to tell the police that it was just out of anger because she was dropped out of a tournament, and just to teach him a lesson, the father decided to file a POCSO case on Brij Bhushan. Now, the Delhi police sources tell us that there is no proof, this was done out of vendetta, and therefore the POCSO case is dropped. How does this change the case entirely?
Well, if you
Anisha,
can hear me right now, what we can tell you is that the police, the Delhi police has filed a cancellation report, a 550-page report before the Patiala House Court here in the minor's case. Now, remember, we had seen the minor go back and give a second statement in this particular case. Her father had also given a statement to India Today saying that they had given this complaint in anger. The POCSO case had been given in anger. While we do not have the details of the allegations or the report itself, what we do know and what the public prosecutor, Mr. Atul Srivastava, has said on our camera as well, is that there was not enough evidence to justify any sort of further investigation, and therefore a cancellation report has been filed by the Delhi police in Patiala House Court as far as the minor's case is concerned, which effectively means that the police has not been able to find enough evidence, that the police has not been able to find any corroborative evidence either when it comes to the allegations that had been raised by this particular minor in this case. We are still waiting for an update from the Rouse Avenue Court on what exactly are the contents of the report that have been filed there by the Delhi police in the case filed by the 6 adult women. But here, at least in Patiala House Court, we can confirm to you that a cancellation report has been filed. Since now currently the courts are on summer vacation, the duty judge has for now said that on the 1st of July, the concerned court, which is in charge of hearing POCSO cases, will be taking a call on accepting or rejecting this particular cancellation report. Back to you.
Right. Anisha, at this point, we see that the victim, we believe, has spoken to the police, and while testifying has said that this was out of anger that she did what she did. She was dropped out of a tournament, and therefore she and her father decided that they would want to teach a lesson to Brij Bhushan. This is what the minors and her father tells the police. But according to a POCSO case, the police is also duty bound to try and investigate as to why the first statement was withdrawn. Do you believe that the police has had sufficient evidence to prove that that was not done out of coercion, her withdrawing the complaint in the first place?
Well, at the moment, Nabila, what I can tell you is that the police has filed a detailed report with several hundred pages, also in sealed cover. We saw this with our own eyes. My colleague Shreya Chatterjee and I were inside the courtroom when this report was submitted to the judge. There are several dozen pages of sealed cover reports as well, and the prosecution has said that they are filing a cancellation report. Clearly, the police would have had to do a detailed investigation after the minor's second statement as well. The police seems to have indicated at this moment that they have not found any corroborative evidence either. My colleague Shreya is here right now. Shreya, the public prosecutor very clearly on our cameras also said that the cancellation report has been filed. We've seen the way the dozens of sealed camera statements. What else have you been able to find?
Well, as of now, we do understand that the cancellation report is on the basis of the change of the statement, and particularly that the Delhi police hasn't really found any corroboratory evidence on the charges of POCSO. Now it will be on the lookout of the court to decide which statement to believe and which to not believe. For that, a date has been set, and the cancellation report against the FIR will now be taken up the concerned court, who will finally decide whether or not POCSO charges will be dropped against Brij Bhushan Singh.
Well, there you have it. Shreya has also spoken to some of the police officials, and I personally also spoke to the public prosecutor in this particular case. What we've been told at this moment at least, is that when a POCSO case is there and the witness, the key victim or the witness retracts their statement, under the law, the police's responsibility is to ensure that they look at corroborative evidence, they look at evidence other than what the victim herself has said. And what the public prosecutor has told us on camera as well is that they have not been able to find any corroborative evidence, which effectively means that after the victim, the minor girl, has retracted her statement, the police has not found any other evidence either to uphold the allegations in the FIR regarding POCSO. Now, as my colleague Shreya also just said, that on the 1st of July, when the court, the concerned POCSO court, the designated judge who handles POCSO cases, when they take up this matter, now it will be up to the court to decide on which statement they want to rely on, what part of the police's final report they want to rely on. Also, just for our viewers, I want to clarify, it is if the court believes that the police investigation is not adequate, they can also ask the police to investigate further. Even though the police has filed a final report saying that this is a cancellation report since they have not been able to find adequate evidence, it is for the court now to take a call on whether to accept or reject this report. Back to you.
Well, certainly yes, but this also is very significant, Anisha, considering that it was the Sports Minister Anurag Thakur who had assured that on the 15th of June, expect the probe to complete, a charge sheet will be filed. And likely so, we see the police now reaching court with a 500-page charge sheet where the POCSO Act itself has been dropped. Now, while that weakens this case, it certainly weakens the case, considering that was the most severe allegation of them all. The 500-page charge sheet, any idea what more does it have? Has there been any more proof or evidence with regards to the adults filing sexual harassment charges on Brij Bhushan?
Okay. Nabila, to clarify this question here, now these are two separate reports that are being filed. Here in Patiala House Court, where I am, where I and my colleague Shreya spoke to the PP and observed the court proceedings, what has been filed is a cancellation report regarding the allegations raised by the minor in the POCSO case. That is one FIR. There, the police, as I said, has filed a cancellation report saying that they have not found any evidence. The second FIR, which is with regard to the allegations raised by the 6 adult women wrestlers, has been filed at the Rouse Avenue Court, which is the special court for MPs and MLAs, for cases against MPs and MLAs. There, my colleagues Arvind Ojha and Srishti Ojha are standing on, are waiting to get us an update. At the moment, at least, Nabila, I can tell you that the police has brought in a charge sheet in that particular court. We are still waiting to get an update on the details of what actually is.
If you could stay with us, I want to quickly cut across to Shreya as well. Shreya joins us live too. We also have Aishwarya Paliwal joining us. Shreya, over to you on the cancellation report itself, a 500-page cancellation report, is that right? Break it down for us. What exactly do those documents really have? Is there any information that we are privy to?
Well, Nabila, first and foremost, what we've gathered right now from the development that has just happened in the Patiala House Court, it's a 550 pages cancellation report that's been filed by the Delhi police. Now, to substantiate the cancellation report that the Delhi police has filed, they have attached certain statements and documents in sealed cover before the court. Now, this entire case will be heard on the 4th of July, is what we are learning.
इस वजह से जज साहब ने पोक्सो के कोर्ट में के लिए 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स कर
सर उसमें रिपोर्ट में क्या कहा गया
कार्ड दे दो बाबा
Based on that particular report, the court will now or they will be issuing a notice to Delhi police to carry out further investigation. So this is the start of the procedure, that's what we can say. But as of now, the Delhi police means, or what they admit is, they have not found any evidence against Brij Bhushan Singh under the POCSO matter. And that's the reason why they have moved a cancellation report, something that will now be heard by the court on the 4th of July.
Well, this is huge a twist in this entire case. I mean, one would know this was anticipated considering that the minor had withdrawn her initial complaint and there were already testimonies coming in. Her father also spoke to India Today itself saying that there wasn't really a sexual harassment case. It was out of anger that his daughter was dropped out of a tournament and therefore out of anger they filed this case. But now one would imagine, considering the gravity of a POCSO act and the severity of it, that the police are bound to investigate whether the complaint was withdrawn out of force or was it done voluntarily. 500-page document that they've provided in court now, where they've said in many words that the case itself, the POCSO case, does not stand. There is no evidence to suggest that he had sexually harassed a minor, and there's no proof. That's what the 500-page document suggests. That's been given to court now. Aishwarya Paliwal as well joining us on that. Aishwarya, any word on how the documents that's been given to court now, dropping the POCSO case itself, would completely change the dynamics of this case?
Well, definitely, Nabila. There is no doubt that the shape of the case will change now, because a lot of what the wrestlers were saying, and not just now, even when they came to the national capital in January, a lot of what they were saying was based on the minor's complaint. And now, with this particular charge being dropped, and in fact, not just being dropped, the minor also going ahead and saying that, she was angry, and that's the reason why this case was being filed, will definitely go in the favor of the man, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. We are standing right outside his house, Nabila. Let's just show you a lot of barricades outside the house. He's the MP, which is he's a member of parliament from the BJP. He's not stepped out at the moment. No word coming in from Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, but definitely, Nabila, the entire case now will change, and there is definitely no doubt about it. We are expecting Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh to maybe come out in the next couple of hours.
Do pan the cameras for us. We'd like to see a little more of Brij Bhushan's home. Are there people around? The man, is he inside? Is Brij Bhushan there at home?
Yes, Nabila, we'll just show you the visuals, the barricades out here, the man inside, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. This is 21. The house number is 21 on Ashoka Road, and he is the MP, which is the member of parliament from the state of Uttar Pradesh. A lot of barricades have been put up. In fact, the entire area, Nabila, let me show you, has been cornered off. We don't see supporters of Brij Bhushan here, but we do know for a fact, Nabila, that the man in question is inside. And what has happened in the court today will definitely, without a doubt, Nabila, let me tell you, change the whole tone and the tenure of the case going forward.
Absolutely. This has come as a huge twist in the case. I mean, not only did of course, the minor withdrew the complaint, and that it already suggested the fact that it's weakened the case. Now, with the police filing a 500-page document and, filing it before court, saying that the POCSO case itself, the minor victim had filed that case out of vendetta. She was angry and because she was dropped off a tournament, and her father decided that they wanted to teach Brij Bhushan a lesson. This is the testimony that they've given before the police, and of course we've heard that in the media as well. The father has said the same before the media. But Anisha Mathur, one would assume that the police would have taken a little longer to try and find out if indeed this was done out of force. But as promised, on the 15th of June is what Anurag Thakur, the sports minister from the government side, had promised, that the charge sheet will be filed by this date. And it appears that, and as expected, the documents have been filed in court, dropping the POCSO case itself. Was this is what was expected by the wrestlers? I'm not too sure.
Well, Nabila, what the wrestlers had expected is that some action would be taken against Brij Bhushan Sharan. What they've been demanding since last year is that he should be arrested, that an FIR should be filed, that action should be taken against him on the basis of these complaints by the women wrestlers. Now, today, of course, it seems that after what the minor had said just a few days ago, what her father had said to our own cameras on India Today, it seemed that their case, at least as far as the POCSO allegations are concerned, had been severely weakened. And today, of course, with the police filing this cancellation report, we'll have to see what the wrestlers have to say about this now. Of course, our colleagues are waiting to get an update from the wrestlers' side as well. But clearly, Nabila, what we need to look at is the way this entire issue has been handled. The questions, of course, will be asked on the 1st of July when the relevant judge, the POCSO designated court, takes up this closure report, this cancellation report, I beg your pardon. In the cancellation report, the court will have to take a look at what exactly has the police said, specifically with regard to what the minor has said, specifically with regard to why the minor has made the statements that she's made, whether the police conducted any investigations regarding allegations of pressure or allegations of vendetta. All of that will come out now on July 1st as far as the POCSO case is concerned. As far as the case regarding the adult women wrestlers is concerned, remember, Nabila, that is one, a separate FIR, and two, will be a separate charge sheet. And we are still waiting to see what happens in the Rouse Avenue court, where my colleagues are waiting to get an update, because in the morning when the police officials are also there at the Rouse Avenue court with the documentation, with the charge sheet copy, which is likely being filed today itself. Now, what has happened today, what we can see is that the sports minister had given an assurance to the wrestlers that something will happen by the 15th of June, and that something has happened. But will the wrestlers be satisfied with what has happened? Will the wrestlers accept the investigation that the police has done? We'll have to see whether the court will also accept what the police has done, because as Shreya and I have been explaining to our viewers, filing the cancellation report does not mean that the court will blindly accept that cancellation report. It is now for the court also to see all of the evidence that the police has brought before it, whether it justifies the cancellation of these allegations or
it's
not.
For the court
and
now
secondly,
to
as far as
investigate.
the adults are concerned, the Rouse Avenue court will take a...
Right, it's all for the court now to take a call, but the deadline, as what the government had promised, is what they've achieved. The police have now already filed a charge sheet and a 500-page report on dropping the POCSO case against Brij Bhushan. Shreya, you've also been interacting with the police there, and as you're at court, the court premises, what's the mood that you sense on ground? Have you had a word with the council of the wrestlers there, who probably is following up on this case? What exactly were the wrestlers expecting when the government promised that by 15th of June, we promise the charge sheet on this case will be filed?
First and foremost, Nabila, we need to understand that in this case, there were two different FIRs. One against where the complainants were the 6 major wrestlers, and one was the alleged minor. Now, in the case of the FIR which substantiated with the alleged minor, the Delhi police has moved a cancellation of FIR on the basis of the evidence that they have gathered, and also the statements that the minor has changed in the course of the investigation. It is obviously on the on the court right now to decide whether or not they will cancel the FIR or further ask the Delhi police to investigate the matter. Now, when we move to the charge sheet that will now be filed in the Rouse Avenue court, from what I have gathered from my source, this charge sheet will largely be a compilation of the witness statements, the 164 statements, and the evidence that the Delhi police has collected till now. So somewhere down the line, what we have seen in both the cases is the Delhi police moving the ball in the court. It will now be the courts who will decide whether or not what the wrestlers have been saying is right, or what Brij Bhushan Singh is saying is right. Now, when we talk about the minor's case, remember when the minor's father also spoke to India Today, saying that he had changed the statement because earlier statement was filed out of anger. We have heard from the wrestlers saying that there was a pressure on the minor's father to do the same. Now, that is something we have to wait and watch whether the court will be taking into consideration, or from today we will see Brij Bhushan see a walkout is something that we will have to wait for the July to now get a clarity on.
All right, so give us the timeline now, Shreya, how long, or if Anisha could bring me that detail on the dates now. When would the last, or when is the date that the court will actually take up the matter? You're saying that the court is right now on break, and when they return, they'll take up the case. Is it likely that this case could prolong? Your observation on this, Anisha?
Well, Nabila, to answer your question very clearly, as I said, in the Patiala House Court, where the cancellation report has been filed, since the court is currently on summer vacation, the POCSO designated court will resume on 1st of July, which is at this point the date of hearing that has been given by the court. So clearly on the 1st of July, this cancellation report that has been filed by the police will again be submitted before the designated POCSO court. At that point of time, it is for the judge sitting in the POCSO court to look at all the documents that have been submitted, to look at the evidence and report that has been filed by the police. And then it is for the judge to decide whether or not they want to accept the cancellation report as is, or they want to ask the police to go ahead and conduct some other aspect of investigation. It is entirely, and I'm repeating this again for the sake of our viewers to understand, cancellation report does not mean that the case is completely closed. Under the CRPC provisions, the magistrate will have to take a very clear look at the documents that have been filed by the police, at the report that has been filed by the police, and then decide whether they are accepting it or they want the police to investigate any further aspect of the allegations, counter allegations, or anything related to that particular report. So as of right now, Nabila, the question that you'd asked regarding whether there was any pressure on the girl, whether there was any vendetta by the girl, all of those issues, it is now for the court to ask these exact questions if the police has not already answered them in this cancellation report. And once again, I will repeat the fact that these reports are in sealed cover till the time the magistrate takes a look at them. So on July 1st, we will get further updates on what is actually the content of this particular cancellation report, on what basis the police has made this kind of a cancellation report. But I can reiterate for our viewers that the public prosecutor, while speaking to our cameras, has very clearly said that this is a cancellation report because they were not able to find any corroborative evidence in this particular case. So on July 1st, we'll find out where the case will now go, whether the court will simply accept it or will ask for anything further. All of that will happen now on the 1st of July. So as far as the timeline of the case is concerned, we will find that out on the 1st as far as the minors case is concerned. But as far as the charge sheet in the Rouse Avenue court is concerned, today itself, as I said, my colleagues are at the Rouse Avenue court waiting to get us an update on what the police is saying in that particular charge sheet. But since the ACP as well as the SHO are currently at Rouse Avenue court, according to the information sent by my colleague Srishti Ojha, it is likely that the Delhi police is filing a charge sheet in the molestation case that has been filed by the adult wrestlers. Now, in the case, and at the moment, it is purely speculative what is actually the content of that document, which is in the hands of the police officials at Rouse Avenue court.
Yes, Anisha,
but I can
we have
give you
Brij Bhushan's prosecutor's reaction coming in on that. Let me quickly cut across to the prosecutor speaking.
फाइनल रिपोर्ट कोर्ट में फाइल करी है क्योंकि मामला पोक्सो 1 से है। इस वजह से जज साहब ने पोक्सो के कोर्ट में के लिए 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स कर फाइनल रिपोर्ट कोर्ट में फाइल करी है क्योंकि मामला पोक्सो 1 से है। इस वजह से जज साहब ने पोक्सो के कोर्ट में के लिए 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स कर फाइनल रिपोर्ट कोर्ट में फाइल करी है क्योंकि मामला पोक्सो 1 से है। इस वजह से जज साहब ने पोक्सो के कोर्ट में के लिए 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स कर फाइनल रिपोर्ट कोर्ट में फाइल करी है क्योंकि मामला पोक्सो 1 से है। इस वजह से जज साहब ने पोक्सो के कोर्ट में के लिए 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स।
All right, 4 तारीख के लिए फिक्स किया है. This is the 4th of July, I'm assuming, right after the court resumes after summer break. This case will be taken up, and it's now for the court to decide on whether or not they will let go of the POCSO case as appealed by the police. The police has filed a whole report, a 500-page report, where they've claimed the POCSO case does not stand. The minor victim who had filed a case against Brij Bhushan on sexual harassment, she had done it only out of anger, her father and her decided to teach Brij Bhushan a lesson because she was dropped out of a tournament. These are words of the victim, and it's recorded by the police, and that's what's in that 500-page document extensively, with a lot more on how there's no evidence also to corroborate any kind of sexual harassment that has been done by Brij Bhushan on that minor. Now, that's one case. Anisha, to bring us a little more on the other. Anisha, while that is one FIR, the other FIR, please break that down for us and the severity of it. If you could tell us that's the FIR now that possibly the entire case will lean on.
Well, yes, Nabila, clearly the second FIR for which the charge sheet is being filed at the Rouse Avenue Court, where my colleagues Arvind Ojha and Srishti Ojha are bringing us updates from the courtroom there. Now, remember, that particular charge sheet is with regard to allegations by the adult victims, the adult wrestlers. That includes charges under Section 354 of the IPC. That also includes 354D of the IPC, which is regarding allegations of molestation as well as stalking, which are there in this particular charge sheet. 354A, 354 and 354D, which is sexual harassment, molestation, outraging of modesty and stalking, which are the three charges in the filed by the adult wrestlers. Now, we will have to wait to see what exactly is the content of that particular charge sheet, but at this moment we are being told by our colleagues at the Rouse Avenue Court that the FIR, the police is filing a charge sheet for the offences of 354, 354A and 354D against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, as well as sections 109, 354 and 354A against Vinod Tomar, who is a co-accused in the case. So that is the information sent by our colleague Arvind Ojha from the Rouse Avenue Court, that the police has filed a detailed charge sheet against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh and Vinod Tomar for outraging modesty of a woman, for intimidation of a woman, as well as sexual harassment. This charge sheet that is being filed before the Rouse Avenue Court is about 1,500 pages long, according to the information that we've received from our colleagues. But at the moment, as I said, we are waiting for the judge at the Rouse Avenue Court to take up these proceedings. They will then, the judge who is on duty today during the vacation, will then inform the police of what date they can bring the charge sheet before the concerned court, which is handling the MP MLA's cases on that particular day. And this is me explaining the procedure and the timeline now. In the Rouse Avenue Court case, since the 6 adult women have filed charges, and the charge sheet has been filed against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh and Vinod Tomar for sexual harassment, outraging modesty and stalking, as well as intimidation. Now, on the next date of hearing, the court is going to take up the charge sheet. They will then decide whether they will take cognizance of the charge sheet. Once cognizance of the charge sheet is taken, then summons are issued to the accused to remain present in the court, unless the police, of course, decides to arrest Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh in the meantime. Now, but since these allegations are under Section 354, which carries about a 6-month to 3-year sentence, usually what happens in cases like these is that before charge sheet, if someone has not been arrested, it is unlikely that they will be arrested after filing of the charge sheet either. But then once the court takes cognizance of the case, summons the accused to face the charges, that is when the court can then decide whether they want to send the accused to custody during the trial period, or they want to grant them bail and let them be outside of jail. So all of that will now happen after the court at Rouse Avenue takes up the charge sheet that has been filed by the Delhi police, and that charge sheet is for offences of sexual harassment, outraging modesty and stalking. Back to you.
All right, this is, so it entirely leans on one FIR at this moment. The Delhi police now has filed a 500-page report at the Patiala House Court, where they've dropped the POCSO case that's been filed by the minor victim with this regard, and that very clearly says that they have no proof to corroborate her evidence, and the minor herself has testified that she was angry with Brij Bhushan, and so she and her father decided to teach him a lesson. Heavy security in the meanwhile has been deployed outside Brij Bhushan's residence right when this charge sheet has been filed, and this report of 500 page at the Patiala House Court We see that Aishwarya Paliwal is in fact joining us live right from the spot. Aishwarya, if you're with us. All right, we're going to try and patch her. But for now, Anisha, the wrestlers, you saw them. You were at Haridwar when they reached that river Ganga to throw away their medals, their Olympic medals. They were distressed then. They suppose, I'm assuming that they're still distressed and hoping that strict action will be taken based on the allegations of sexual harassment that they've also filed. Now, with this case, with this development coming in, with the Delhi police itself dropping the POCSO Act, I wonder how the wrestlers itself would receive this piece of news.
Well, Nabila, we are still waiting for a response from the wrestlers. Our colleagues are trying to get in touch with the wrestlers. At this moment, at least, the wrestlers have not made any public statement so far, at least as far as I'm aware. But at this moment, remember, we were closely following what the wrestlers were saying, even at when the wrestlers had gone to Haridwar to drop their medals in the Ganga, saying that they are very, very upset at the way this entire situation is being handled. At that time also, their one demand so far has been the arrest of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. It has been that some strict action must be taken against him. Now, and discussing this particular case from a legal point of view, now as long as the POCSO charges were standing, the chances of the accused being arrested were much higher, because under the POCSO Act, the question of arrest of an accused, especially when a minor, the case of a minor is concerned, is much higher. Of course, once again, I will reiterate for our viewers that it is for the police to consider the evidence, it is for the police to consider the possibility of the accused influencing a victim. It is for the police to consider if the accused in a particular case could tamper with the evidence or affect the witnesses in a manner that could affect the outcome of the case. And that is where it is the responsibility of a police to arrest or choose to not arrest a person. And here in this particular case, we've seen that despite multiple demands by the wrestlers, the police chose again and again not to arrest Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. And the police has chosen also to file a cancellation report here at the Patiala House Court in the case.
At this point, we see that the charge sheet has nearly 150 witnesses. So that's really a long list of witnesses that have been included in that charge sheet, which has been filed in court. 150 witnesses. I wonder how many of them have actually corroborated the adult's allegations of sexual harassment. At least the minor now, her accusation of sexual harassment, she herself has withdrawn, and therefore the cops have dropped that POCSO case itself. This is surely weakened the case against Brij Bhushan. Let me cut across to Milan Sharma, who's right outside Brij Bhushan's residence. Milan, take us through the barricading. There's high security, we believe, right outside Brij Bhushan's residence. Is he inside? Any commotion that you see, people around?
Well, Nabila, at the moment we are outside Brij Bhushan Sharan's Delhi residence, where he has been camping out for a few days, before going to Gonda. And there are barricades erected, yes, but of course there has been extreme amount of commotion in the area. There is security deployed since the very beginning, since the beginning of the Jantar Mantar protest that the wrestlers started in this particular area. But for now, of course, as my colleague Anisha was also mentioning, there has been this understanding that despite there being a offence that was registered under the POCSO cases as well, the investigating officers perhaps did not find enough evidences to have put this in to perspective and gone ahead, because the statements were also changed by the minor. And as opposed to what you were discussing right now, you were saying there are 150 witnesses. Well, the Delhi police has actually interviewed more than 200 witnesses for the second FIR that was filed under complaint of the 6 wrestlers, and that is when they have come to the 150 number. So more than 200 people were actually interviewed and questioned, and on the basis of this, there's a 1,500-page charge sheet that has been filed today by the Delhi police in the court. And when it comes to the arresting of Brij Bhushan, at the moment in the POCSO case, at least we are looking at a little relief. But even in the sections that have been put forward in the other FIR, Nabila, which are very much cognizable and non-bailable. The idea is that there are multiple judgments in the Supreme Court that also put in place that if the punishment for these offences is less than 7 years, then the arrest and immediate arrest is not mandatory of the accused. And that is why legal experts or whether keep saying that for such cognizable offences that are non-bailable, especially in case of sexual assault where 354, 354A, 354D of stalking have been added, there should be an arresting which should become a norm. But there are multiple judgments, as my colleague Anisha also mentioned, wherein these arrests do not happen because the Supreme Court does not mandate for a fact that there should be an immediate arrest. And that is why Brij Bhushan Sharan has still not been arrested. He has been travelling between Gonda and Delhi, and even yesterday in an interview to India Today, he has said that he is actually suffering due to a political conspiracy. But of course, all this is in court right now, all this in front of the Delhi police. And on the other hand, you know, they are also waiting for, we are also waiting for information of what actually details in the FIR of the 1500-pager charge sheet that has been filed and all the allegations that have been levelled of Brij Bhushan Sharan, and whether the investigating officer actually feels that there is enough corroboration at that point to arrest him immediately. But at the moment, Nabila, where I am, outside his house, we don't see that happening today.
All right. So clearly the BJP MP Brij Bhushan, all the clout that he usually holds, it seems like there's absolute silence right outside his house with huge security deployment. Clearly with the POCSO case that's been dropped on Brij Bhushan, the case has certainly now become weaker. Milind, that's the question I've been asking on the wrestlers who have been promised by the government that on the 15th of June, that's the deadline that they'd given, there will be a charge sheet that will be filed. That was projected in a way that they will get justice. But now with the POCSO case being dropped, of course, it's got to be as per facts. One can't make up stories or make up a case. If there isn't a case, then the police has gone with that. It appears they've dropped the POCSO case because the minor victim has withdrawn the complaint. Now, considering that, the whole case itself becomes weaker. So the possibility of an arrest of Brij Bhushan is again a big question.
Absolutely, Nabila. We've been discussing the possibilities of his arrest, but as I just mentioned, and as Anisha, our colleague, has also been talking about the specific judgments that have been mentioned in the Supreme Court that don't mandate arrest for such sort of sections that have been put as well. And if we detail in sections 354A, D, and these are sections of sexual assault, these are sections of stalking that have been put. But when we talk about the POCSO as well, in section 10 of POCSO that was put on Brij Bhushan Sharan by the Delhi police, there was, an alteration or change in statement and taking back of statement by the minor, where the wrestlers also alleged that the father and the family was being put under immense pressure and duress to take back those statements. And this is something that the wrestlers have said to us on record as well. And therefore, at this moment, Delhi police also does not have it easy right now, because they had to submit a 500-pager cancellation report for the FIR of POCSO to be cancelled. Now, the court also has to take cognizance of this entire report, and it is up to the Delhi police also to prove why and how they are going forward with this cancellation at the moment. And as our colleague Sanjay Sharma has also been pointing out, it's not just the POCSO Section 10 offences, but also offences under 350.
Right. Stay with us, Milind. Public Prosecutor Atul speaking. Let's cut across.
जज साहब ने इसे सीएमएम साहब के लिए रख दिया है जी। अब सीएमएम साहब क्या ये 22 जून को आगे अग्रिम सुनवाई के लिए रखा सीएमएम राव जेवेन्यू साहब कौन से सेक्शन में सर व्हाट चार्जेस हैव बीन मेंशन्ड इन द चार्ज शीट हैज बीन फाइल्ड अंडर सेक्शन 354 354D 354A एंड 506 पार्ट 1 ऑफ द आईपीसी ये अवेलेबल ऑफेंसेस सर इन सेक्शंस कितने एक्यूज बनाए गए हैं सर कितने एक्यूज बनाए गए हैं अच्छा सर एक और चीज बता दीजिए पटियाला आज यहाँ पे हमने चार्जशीट फाइल करी है जी और जज साहब ने इसे सीएमएम साहब के लिए रख दिया है जी। अब सीएमएम साहब क्या ये 22 जून को आगे अग्रिम सुनवाई के लिए रखा सीएमएम राव जेवेन्यू साहब कौन से सेक्शन में सर व्हाट चार्जेस हैव बीन मेंशन्ड इन द चार्ज शीट हैज बीन फाइल्ड अंडर सेक्शन 354 354D 354A एंड 506 पार्ट 1 ऑफ द आईपीसी ये अवेलेबल ऑफेंसेस सर
All right, Shreya joins us for more. Shreya, as we see that the court is now in summer break, and by the time they open up, we believe that the wrestlers have no other choice but to hold on to their protests. They have promised that they will not begin their protests until the 15th of June. Is there any likelihood now, with the fact that the police have dropped the POCSO case, now the matter is in court, do you believe that the wrestlers possibly might just come back and hit the streets and protest yet again? They had said until 15th June, they too will not protest.
Well, you know, first and foremost, Nabila, we need to understand the severity of the charges that's been filed against Brij Bhushan in the case where the 6 wrestlers had been complainants. Now, in the POCSO, indeed, the Delhi police has moved for a cancellation of the FIR. But when we talk about the other charge sheet, the Delhi police has filed a charge sheet against Brij Bhushan and Vinay Tomar under 3 sections. That is 354, which is assault, physical assault to outrage the modesty of a woman. 354A, which is intending of making colored sexual remarks. And 506, which intends to intimidation. So these are the 3 sections against which the Delhi police has filed a charge sheet against Brij Bhushan and Vinay Tomar. So that is at least one charge sheet where the Delhi police is corroboratory, saying that they have some evidence which they have found against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, maybe in the form of statements or any other corroboratory evidence. So one charge sheet, somewhere down the line, probably the wrestlers might respond in a positive manner. When we talk about the POCSO case, here the Delhi police has said that they are not finding any evidence after completion of investigation, and under section 173 CRPC, they have sought a cancellation of report. Now in both the cases, Nabila, it will be the court which will now decide the fate of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. In Patiala House Court on the 4th of July, when the cancellation of report will be taken up, it will be interesting to see whether the court believes the second statement that was given by the minor's father and the minor, or the initial statement that was recorded by the Delhi police. To substantiate these statements, remember, the Delhi police has also attached some evidence in sealed cover in the Patiala House Court. So we will have to wait till the court reopens and what the court decides on that cancellation report. And on the other hand, when it comes to the charge sheet in the Rouse Avenue Court, the Delhi police will go ahead, the court will go ahead, take a cognizance in the charge sheet, and subsequently we will now hear, the matter be heard in that same case again. So one thing for sure, the Delhi police is somewhere down the line put the ball in the court, and the court will now be the main factor deciding the fate of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. We can't really say that it's a complete win for Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, because there is at least one charge sheet where he has been named as an accused under 3 sections.
All right. So, Milind, for a little more on that. Milind, tell us more on the wrestlers and their sentiment at this point. Of course, we believe that they have not spoken to the media as yet. We're going to try and reach out to them. But this must have come as a setback in their nearly 4-month-long protest. That the protest actually began. They went to Jantar Mantar 2 months after January. In fact, sat in Jantar Mantar for nearly a month and a half. All right, stay with us. I'm cutting across to the Delhi police speaking, the PRO of the Delhi police speaking on this case.
फाइल कर दी है. इसमें सेक्शन 354, 354A और D इनके तहत हमने ब्रिज भूषण है उनके खिलाफ, और मिस्टर विनोद तोमर हैं उनके खिलाफ भी 109, 354A, 354 एंड 506 IPC में चार्जशीट दाखिल कर दी है.
और मैम जो पॉक्सो वाला मैटर था उसमें
पॉक्सको में हमने कैंसिलेशन के लिए फ़ाइल किया है. ये हमने बेस किया है जो कंप्लेनेंट हैं उनकी स्टेटमेंट पर और जो एलिज्ड विक्टिम हैं उनकी स्टेटमेंट के ऊपर. तो बेस्ड ऑन दैट कैंसिलेशन रिपोर्ट हैज़ बीन फाइल्ड. We had registered the FIR on the complaint of rustlers who were alleging harassment against WFI president. In that case, today we have filed a charge sheet in the concerned court under section 354, 354A and D, and rest the court proceedings will start shortly. And there was another case under POCSO in which we have filed the cancellation report based on the statement given by the complainant, who was the father of the alleged victim, as well as on the statement of the victim itself.
All right, the Delhi Police PRO. In fact, this is, of course, what was expected. It's not really come as a surprise, considering that the victim itself, the minor victim, had withdrawn the case or the complaint itself, saying that she had done it out of anger. Now, the Delhi Police dropping the POCSO case and filing this 500-page report, saying there's no evidence to corroborate the allegations of sexual harassment by the minor, and considering she herself has testified the case of POCSO does not stand, has not come as a surprise. This was expected. Shreya, for a little more on that. Shreya, this was certainly expected, right? We spoke, India Today spoke to the father of the victim as well, and he clearly said that this was done out of anger. But one would have assumed that the Delhi police would have taken slightly longer from the time that the father actually withdrew the case and he spoke to India Today. That was the time he also testified with the Delhi police. The Delhi police should have ideally taken longer. I'm not too sure if they've been super effective in coming out with every investigation. They've really fast-tracked in such a way that they've managed to file this 500-page report in barely a week's time. But really, one would assume that this would have taken a little longer, considering the POCSO Act very clearly says even if the victim withdraws the complaint, it's on the onus of the police to really investigate whether this was done on coercion or not, whether this was by force or not. But clearly, the police have managed to wrap it up in 7 days.
Well, first and foremost, Nabila, we just really need to understand that the statement that was changed by the minor and the minor's father was on the 1st of June. So if we go on the timeline, the Delhi police has taken at least 15 days from the statements being changed to obviously collect corroboratory evidence, which can actually verify that the second statement was right and the first statement was done in a fit of anger. And probably that's why the police as a law enforcement agency has chosen to believe the second statement. However, that does not mean that already the POCSO case has been dropped against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. What it means that the Delhi police has not found any evidence in the POCSO case and they have chosen to believe the second statement that has been given by the minor's father and the minor. What happens from now is the court. Now, court will now be deciding that which statement they will rely upon. Whether it will be the initial 2 statements, that is the 161 statement before the police and the 164 statement before the magistrate, or the second 164 statement before the magistrate that was recorded on the 1st of June. So we have to understand that the Delhi police did not immediately file for a closure report. They investigated the case and they waited for at least 2 weeks after the statement was changed, and then they have now filed a cancellation report of the cancellation of FIR, something that is upon the court to decide whether or not they will cancel the FIR or they will ask the Delhi police to further investigate the case.
Right. So about 2 weeks, that's 15 days is how long that the police has taken. If I could cut across to Anisha. Anisha, if you're still with us, give us a sense on how far can the police go ahead to arrest Brij Bhushan now that the POCSO case is dropped. How severe is this case? Does it still remain serious? Of course, one knows when an FIR has been filed against someone on sexual harassment charges, the case is serious. The police will have to take this up immediately and adequately. But the fact that this is not a POCSO case, could that mean that he could escape arrest? Anisha, if you're with us. Lost her connection there. I'm going to cut back to Shreya. Shreya, over to you on that. As we see at this point, the POCSO case has been dropped by the Delhi police. Of course, we're going to wait for the court to decide whether this stands, whether they are willing to drop it as per the appeal of the police in that report, or whether this stays, whether direction is going out to the police to investigate further. That we'll know only on the 4th of July. We believe that's the date been given. But for now, will Brij Bhushan or can Brij Bhushan be arrested by the police based on the FIR filed by the adults, the sexual harassment charges that the adults have made? That's another FIR. On that too, a charge sheet has been filed. Close to 150 witnesses have been recorded and presented as part of that report. Based on that, do you believe the police can arrest Brij Bhushan? And how far is, if at all, he is convicted of sexual harassment on the adults, what is the likely punishment for Brij Bhushan here?
Well, first and foremost, the sections that have been filed against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh are bailable sections. So even if we see an arrest, it will be interesting to see what the courts decide. But remember, there are, the court will actually now be the deciding factor on whether or not they will also be commenting on the investigation done by the Delhi police. Because if we talk about the entire case, Delhi police has received a lot of flack ever since the complaint was filed before the Connaught Place police station. Delhi police did not immediately file an FIR. The wrestlers had to move the court. It was then the direction from the Supreme Court on the basis of which Delhi police registered the FIR. There was a delay in registering 164 statements. Again, the wrestlers chose to move the court, and then 164 statements were recorded. So somewhere down the line, as we talk about what will be the fate of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, it's important to point out that while the course of investigation or the trial in the court begins, it will be interesting to see the observations the court will make on the investigation that the Delhi police has also done into the case. As of now, in one case, the Delhi police has found Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh accused under sexual harassment, stalking and making colored sexual remarks, and they have also found Vinay Tomar, who is a WFI official and accused in the case. So two of them have been mentioned as an accused in the complaint that was lodged by 6 of the major complainants. When we come to the POCSO matter, there the Delhi police hasn't found any evidence that POCSO charges should be attracted against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, is why they have moved for a cancellation report based on the statements that have been changed by the father of the minor and the minor. Now, we spoke with the minor's father exactly a week back. Last Thursday is when the minor's father spoke to India Today and AajTak and very categorically mentioned that the reason he changed the statement was the first statement was given in a fit of anger. As per what he said, that during the 2022 Asian Championship, he felt that his daughter was actually discriminated during the selection procedure, and he felt that the reason or the person who was behind that was Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. That is why they went against and filed a false case against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. So that was the change of statement that the minor's father also corroborated to India Today.
Right. Stay with us. Shreya, I'm going to quickly cut across to Atul, who's the public prosecutor speaking to the media. Listen in.
इस वाले प्लीज सर ब्रिज भूषण शरण के अलावा किसी का नाम है दूसरा कौन है सर
2 persons are there. That much I can say.
Srivastava, is there sufficient evidence for the trial in this case?
How many accused? Court who has to see from our side, yes.
इस वाले प्लीज सर ब्रिज भूषण शरण के अलावा किसी का नाम है दूसरा कौन है सर
2 persons are there. That much I can say.
All right. Well, there you have Atul, who's in fact speaking. There's a lot more information that is awaited, but as of now, the court is shut as they are currently on summer holiday break. They're going to resume on the 1st of July. The case will be taken up on the 4th.